Let's head to Germany. Another disappointing result for Borussia Dortmund. They can only manage a 2-2 draw against Hoffenheim. Let's welcome back to the show Jurgen Klinsmann. Kasey, Keller here with us as well. Kasey, you look at this Dortmund side, so much talent, but we're seeing it week in, week out. It is just not gelling.
Yeah, it's not the Dortmund we saw in the first half of the season where they just looked so cohesive. They were keeping clean sheets, and they looked like they were going to score on every attack. And, okay, there's been some talk. The form of Jadon Sancho hasn't been where it needs to be. That's getting better. He got the goal, but then more or less disappeared as then Hoffenheim should have won this game running away. They had chance after chance, particularly early in the second half, and lucky at the end that they were able to get the equalizer. But yeah, this is a Dortmund team that's definitely searching for answers and trying to get back to that form that they had at the beginning of the year.
That's only one win in their last 6 Bundesliga games, Jurgen. How do you explain this?
Well, it's difficult to explain. Obviously, they have the change of coach, and so kind of things have to fall into place again. You know, people need to understand their roles within the team. What I saw was basically confirmation of what we've discussed over the last couple of weeks. Very often, you know, it's a lack of leadership. Dortmund doesn't have somebody that kind of pulls the strings, that is really the chief on the field. You know, obviously Mats Hummels is doing whatever he can in his role as a center back, but you know, we talked so many times about Marco Reus, you know, that he would be now the perfect leader of this overall very young team still. If you look at the Giovanni Reinas, if you look at Jadon Sancho and many other young players. But then he sits on the bench. And obviously he cannot be a leader if he sits on the bench and comes in then second half and trying to do something. So this is a very, very difficult period for Borussia Dortmund. And they cannot afford not making the Champions League spots. It would be a complete disaster, also a financial disaster for the club if they're not ending up in the top 4. And right now they're in 6th position and struggling. So they need to solve those issues on the field very, very quickly.
Jurgen, say they appointed you coach on Monday. What's the first thing that you would do to try and address some of these issues?
Well, obviously there's a need for talking behind the scene, you know, players with players, the coaches, you know, with players, maybe smaller groups, maybe one-on-one talks. Maybe you kind of meet up with a couple of players somewhere else, not on the training ground. You kind of go into a cafe somewhere downtown and discuss things through. Obviously, I often mention that over the last couple of weeks, you cannot leave things on the shoulders of very, very young players, you know, such as Jadon Sancho or Haaland or Giovanni Reina. The youngsters cannot solve the issues that they have at Dortmund. It has to come from the experienced players. They have to kind of guide this group out of this crisis and get them the points necessary in order to go into the Champions League. So there's a lot of work for them, mainly behind the scene. There's not much you can do really on the field right now because they play every couple of days. You know, it's obviously with the COVID situation, it's very difficult for the players going from game to game non-stop, but it's the same for everybody. So that's not a real excuse for Borussia Dortmund.
Kasey, we talked a lot about Borussia Dortmund being the perfect place for Erling Haaland to grow as a footballer. We all know his quality, all know his talent, obviously on the score sheet again today. If Borussia Dortmund don't qualify for the Champions League, how much of a game changer is that regarding his future at the club?
Well, you think it would be huge because you would assume that he has just suitors all over the place.
Yep.
But also you have to assume that those suitors are only a handful of clubs, right? That first of all would be able to afford him, and second of all that he would think that would be a significant enough of a step up from Borussia Dortmund. But I would assume if Dortmund aren't in the Champions League, twofold. Jurgen mentioned the difficulties for the club itself not being in the Champions League, but then also the financial ramifications. So they'll be looking to probably cash out on 1 or 2 players to make sure that they cover their budgets. And Haaland would be the likely successor. The question mark then just is, which of the big boys around the world are willing to put the money forward. I think we're all looking at let's say, like Bayern, but maybe not for a year or two when Lewandowski is maybe that little bit older. So maybe the timing for that is a little bit wrong. You know, what are the finances right now of the Spanish giants? What does he want to go to England like his father, where his father played? So a lot of question marks, and obviously those questions will come to the forefront if they're unable to get their form together and get themselves in those Champions League spots.
It's difficult to see a situation, Jurgen, in which Borussia Dortmund are going to be fighting for the title properly, looking at this squad and looking at the disarray at the moment. So, irregardless if whether or not they finish for the top four, is Dortmund still the right place for someone like Haaland?
Oh, it's definitely the right place for someone like Haaland, also Giovanni Reina and all the other youngsters. It's a great place to be, to grow, and to play on the highest level possible. And it's Champions League level that Dortmund provided over the years. So it's a great club with a great following. They suffer extremely from not having the fans in the stadium because they have usually 80,000 every home game. And they're missing them, obviously. You know, it's often the fans that turn around the results for them. You know, they push them forward, they get them, they give them extra energy, and it makes it possible to end up with 3 points, especially in the home games. But the danger is, if you're not getting in the top four, what are you telling then on Haaland? You know, what are you telling special talents then? And you know, if you don't have the income coming from the Champions League, you're probably not able then to keep these super talents. So it's a very tricky situation right now for Dortmund, and they get really under time pressure now to solve those issues.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.